Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Saturday, January 17th. Welcome to Ukraine Update, where Russian propaganda gets wrecked, fascists get roasted, and freedom gets the last word. This week, mass strikes, a grid on the edge, every power plant in Ukraine damaged by Russian attacks, a front that looks frozen, and a system that isn't. We're talking about a winter war designed to break civilians, Ukraine pushing back where it actually counts, and chaos inside Moscow that's starting to spill into battlefield decisions. We're asking the uncomfortable questions. Who collapses first, manpower or ammunition? What happens when regions can't pay salaries, but the war machine keeps going? And what does unsustainable actually look like when the math finally stops working? We're also zooming out, way out, into Trump's escalating rhetoric, a possible US move on Greenland, and the bigger geopolitical picture of what the United States is doing and not doing. And we take a look as Russia is being colonized by its only financial lifeline, as old rules collapse and power gets rewritten. This isn't just about Ukraine, it's about the collapse of the old world order and the dangerous disorder taking its place. I'm Slavi. This is Ukraine Update. Let's say hello to the panel today. Hi, James. How is it going?
Did we lose him? I think he had a connection issue and popped out during the intro because I'm not seeing him over here. So, hi, Slavi. I'm doing really well. How are you?
Commander McMillan, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
And then our host, Dick, how's it going?
Good. I'm sure we'll get James back in a second here. Life is crazy everywhere you look. The headlines are crazy. My son and I are about to jump in and move house from where we've been for like ever to a new place. And I don't know if I'm coming or going, but I'm pretty sure I can play along and be a part of it anyway. So we'll see. I have no clue. How's it going your way, Slavi?
Not too bad. The news is crazy. It's chaotic. So every day is insane, basically.
Yeah, like Sheryl Crow said, every day is a winding road.
Yeah. To even keep up and do news reports, it's something insane every day. But yeah. But guys, before we dive in, we're streaming across the Shills and channel Yarochenko. So if you're new here, welcome. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're watching. Also like and share the stream. It really helps us stay in the game and keeps this coverage going. And also say hello to us in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. And if you got any questions, drop them in the chat. Our moderators will get them to us as we go.
Oh, yeah.
So should we get into it or wait for James?
Let's just start with some news, I guess, because I'm sure he'll only be a minute or something. Like I don't actually know what happened because he hasn't even messaged in the back, so it could have been a power thing. I'm not really sure. Let's jump in and then we'll catch him up when he jumps in and keep going.
All right. Well, let's start that Russia launched the largest drone missile attack of this winter on Ukraine, launched 293 Shahed-type drones and 18 missiles, including Kinzhal 101s, Calibers, and S-300s. And this was just in a coordinated overnight assault targeting Ukraine's energy grid. Speaking of energy and where James is, the attack hit Kiev, Zaporozhye, Odessa, Sumy, Kharkiv, and Donetsk Oblast, overwhelming regional emergency services and forcing rolling blackouts across the country. Ukrainian air defenses intercepted 240 drones and integration of Western systems like NASAMS, IRIS-T, and Patriots as well. But despite high interception rates, the remaining strikes destroyed multiple substations and transformers, causing grid instability and forcing emergency shutdowns of thermal plants. This comes as the weather hits -20 in Kiev and in Ukraine. So there's no power, no heating, and I mean, -20, that's in Celsius. I'm not sure. I think it's 40 in Fahrenheit.
It would be
But,
around there, yeah.
Colder than a witch's tit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James is here. And James, how are you? Are you cold? How is it? How is it?
Well, I can tell you, yeah, it's bloody cold. And it's been cold here for the better, but yeah, like a week. I mean, it's cold. It's been cold, but then we got the snow, and I've been having to drive across Ukraine multiple times in the past week, and which is not fun. It's very stressful. Yeah, colder than a witch's tit. Cold enough that I would not allow my engineers to walk home from the laboratory this week because I was like, no way. You know, it's luckily I have discovered the secret to staying warm. By the way, welcome to my new humble abode. My new safe house. I've literally just moved into. So I don't have my usual flags up and all of this stuff. But you can all see my wonderful Soviet furniture left over.
I was gonna say it.
Yeah, I'm sure you recognize this stuff, huh? Yeah, very.
James,
very...
how are Ukrainians? How are you keeping warm?
Well, here's an irony. The closer you get to the front lines, the more regular the power is, and the more likely you are to have like central heat and things like that. Part of the reason, every time Kiev gets hit really hard, we take a break. And vice versa. When they're not getting hit, we're getting slammed by drones and missiles and stuff. My wife, of course, lives in the middle of Ukraine, very far from me, and she's got power like 2 out of every 6 hours, I think, something like that.
Ouch.
And sometimes not even that, so she can't even like do her work, her job. And my friends and fellow soldiers who for whatever reason, are stationed in Kyiv, like somewhere in Kyiv for training. And they're in their hotel. We got them a hotel, and it's a nice place, but they're freezing their balls off because all the central heating is knocked out and the power is knocked out most of the time, and so it's
you can't just have a bonfire in the living room of a hotel room, right?
Well, you could. It's frowned upon.
Yeah, I bet.
Actually, Ukraine in Kiev, they have set up these like invincibility points, like tents, where,
Sure.
especially around the huge apartment buildings, where people can go down, get warm, and they have like food, get some rest as well, charge their phones, and yeah, they have food, and I've heard like to keep warm, tea, and
Yeah.
they
Yes.
start
Yes.
having actually another group of younger Ukrainians. There was even raves that they were having to keep warm and to keep dancing with some hot wine
Do
and
something.
not to get discouraged.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Glintwein.
yeah, Glintwein. Yeah.
Glintwein, which, by the way, if you haven't had Glintwein, it's all like in Sweden, I think it's called Glühwein, but it's quite nice. So it's a hot, like mold spiced wine, typically red wine with like cloves and cinnamon and
Oranges. But it's best to make it with like cheap wine. It's terrible if you make it with good wine. So you want cheap wine, and then some people add brandy to it. That's delicious.
Yeah, it's too much for me. I call it Campbell's chunky wine. That's it's yeah, but on a hot winter's evening, if you have to walk home or something, there's usually like Glintwein cellars, or sometimes the coffee shops or what have you will have Glintwein. Kind of nice, I'm looking at myself, man. It's been a busy week. I think you guys haven't seen me for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
Good stuff, amazingly good stuff happening on my end. But I literally didn't have time to shave today, so
I use the same excuse.
Well, before we keep going, Zelensky also just yesterday, he said that Ukraine received a serious package of air defense missiles this morning. So that was yesterday, and he said until this morning, yesterday, we had several air defense systems without missiles. So he said, today I can speak about this openly because as of today, we have these missiles. That's what he said. So there was news that, again, Ukraine is not getting the packages. They're not coming in. They're stalled. And that's not good. I'm glad that Ukraine finally got it. But, oh my gosh, this whole time, they didn't have like air defense systems.
Yeah.
So it makes one wonder, is Trump, completely cut out Ukraine? Why isn't Europe delivering the weapons that it's supposed to, supposedly buy for Ukraine? So
no, I mean, you just can't imagine how terrifying it is to hear the Shaheds coming in, circling above you, and hear the guns go silent. And there's still 7, 10, 15 Shaheds circling around. And then they start coming in one at a time, 100 meters away, 200 meters away. Are they looking? Are they looking at me as I'm looking out the window?
Yeah.
It's my first time was like, oh, okay, hello. Yeah. Now, of course, I just sleep through it. I don't even, wake up. But
it kind of felt that when I was listening to Zelensky saying that, like it's a year ago. We've been, going through this and saying more air defense, and it just kind of feels like we're back there again, where Europe and United States is not delivering on their promises, on their deals.
Dragging the feet. Yeah.
Although that being said, so now several Western countries announced the new military aid packages for Ukraine, combining the air defense interceptors, artillery shells, armored vehicles, and drone systems to stabilize the front and protect critical infrastructure from Russian strikes, although all of the plants were damaged all over Ukraine by Russia. And yeah, they're working around the clock to get it up and coming. But yeah, this is part of systematic genocide, taking out living conditions that you must have to live and to survive. And Russia once again is freezing Ukrainians, or trying to freeze Ukrainians and make conditions completely unlivable.
It's interesting to me that they're choosing to do this particular strategy, hitting the power grid, because their own history, say World War II, up in, say, Leningrad, where you have 900 days, the city is besieged, temperatures in the winter drop, ridiculously low, nobody's getting any heating or anything, and yet the city survives. So you'd think they'd look at their own history and realize that that kind of a terror tactic isn't really effective in achieving a larger goal. Yeah, it makes life unbearable in a lot of ways for the people that are enduring it, but it's insufficient on its own to achieve a victory. And then you look at, say, the Allied strategic bombing campaign of Germany in the war, and it took them the better part of 2 years before they finally hit on the right target packages to achieve their goals. Because up until then, it was like, okay, we're going to start by bombing aircraft factories. No, that doesn't seem to be working. We're going to bomb ball bearing factories. No, that isn't working. Okay, then we're going to bomb steel plants. That isn't working. And then they accidentally almost stumbled on the fact that if you bomb the oil infrastructure, it shut down the German war machine.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what's going on with the Russians, except they're not trying to adapt. They're not. They've chosen their target package, the power infrastructure. And they aren't seeing that after 3+ years of hitting these same targets over and over again, it's not doing what they want it to do, but it's what they're going to do because they can't come up with a better plan.
Right.
And even that, I mean, I guess Russia, Putin still haven't learned that the more you hit is not going to make Ukrainians to submit to Russia.
If anything, it's the opposite.
Exactly. So,
it's Battle of Britain. The Germans were convinced if we bomb the English, they're going to get so demoralized they'll surrender. And with every bomb that hit London, national resistance went up, not down.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about Ukrainian counterstrikes on Russian logistics.
Absolutely.
I like this part. From January 7th to 13th, Ukraine hit Russia's fuel, maritime, and drone infrastructure. On January 7th, Ukraine struck a fuel depot in Belgorod. On January 8th, a Ukrainian naval drone hit an oil tanker bound for Novorossiysk. Ukrainian forces destroyed a military warehouse in occupied Shakhtarsk. And on January 13th, Ukraine struck a drone production facility in Taganrog. And this was the Russia's Shahed assembly line. And so this was to slow the replenishment of its drone fleet that Russia is shooting at Ukrainian civilians. And also, Ukrainian intelligence said that these strikes are part of the broader campaign to degrade Russia's war economy, and this not just battlefield logistics. I mean, Ukraine's gonna keep going, keep hitting these military targets and logistics for the military. Just what the contrast there, what Russia is doing, the things they're hitting, and the military targets that Ukraine is hitting.
I think the most telling series of targets that the Ukrainians are hitting is the oil production infrastructure, because that's what's keeping the financial footing for the war afloat. And the more damage that can be done to that, the harder it is for Putin to continue to pursue this war in the manner he wants. I'm not saying it's going to be sufficient to stop the war. He can continue throwing warm bodies, but that's not going to be sufficient to achieve a victory. That's just a mounting death toll to bloat his ego.
Yeah. Well, just yesterday, and this is brand new news, U.S. actually introduced two bipartisan bills tightening sanctions on Russian energy. The Ending Importation of Laundered Russian Oil Act would close the refining loophole that allows Russian oil to be laundered through third-party countries and sold in the United States as gasoline and other petroleum products. And the No Aid for Russian Energy Act would ban U.S. companies and individuals and their foreign subsidiaries from providing petroleum equipment, software, and services to Russia. And new reports show U.S. companies, most notably Houston-based energy giant SLB, continue to enable actually Russia's oil profits, which Moscow uses to finance its war machine against Ukraine. So this deprived of American equipment and expertise and sector would rapidly degrade this way. And yeah, it's a ban on imports of refined products from refineries running on Russian crude is also urgently needed at this point. Because the U.S. imported actually 3.6 billion of oil products from 3 refineries in India. Of this, estimated was 1.5 billion that was processed using Russian crude.
Wow.
So,
man, I just want these. I know that we talked a lot about America applying like secondary sanctions, but I really want to see Europe, the EU, start applying them. I mean, I don't think we can. I don't think that Europe can necessarily rely. I mean, there's talk of secondary sanctions and there's actual implementation of them, right? Yeah. And I think that Europe needs to stop relying on other countries to make that happen, because other countries are not proving themselves reliable, unfortunately.
What worries me is Europe is now distracted and busy with Greenland situation. It seems like.
Yeah, there's a few knock-on benefits to that whole Greenland thing, isn't there, Commander?
Well, I think the whole Greenland thing, honestly, is a deliberate effort to break NATO up.
Yeah.
I think that the whole thing about, we need to protect it from the Chinese and Russians is a farce. People talking about, if there's lots of deposits of rare earth metals. Yeah, but that's not the critical part. The main thing this is achieving is it's trying to dismantle NATO. Yeah. Because if the U.S. does decide it's going to go in with forces, that effectively breaks NATO up. You can't invoke Article 5 against a member of NATO.
Right. Now, Commander, in that situation, does NATO regroup and reshuffle, bring in extra folks and peoples and territories and stuff and keep going? Like, you know?
I think saner minds in Europe are already talking about alternate cooperative security arrangements to replace NATO if something like this happens. I think most NATO countries realize that individually, none of them are strong enough to really resist either the US or Russia if they decide to get adventurous. But together, they pose a formidable opponent.
Yeah. As a Canadian, we're in.
Yeah, I know. And I honestly think that what is going on is that Trump and his little coterie of sycophants are deliberately trying to break NATO up because it's part of a deal that he made with Pooters, which is, okay, you can have Venezuela and the rest of the Western Hemisphere, but you have to break up NATO.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
we all know
effectively it is.
I'm sorry?
I said effectively this is the end of NATO in many respects. Europe is going to have to federalize essentially in order to create an effective unified armed force, and that's going to become the NATO alternative, and American hegemony will be gone at that point.
Yeah. And people keep saying, well, when Trump's gone, everything will go back to normal. No, it won't, because the whole foundation of an organization like NATO is having trust, faith, and confidence in the other allies. And what Trump has done very conclusively has shown that the U.S. is not a dependable ally.
Yeah.
It's a big shock, a big wake-up call. And it's important to understand that Trump ultimately was elected by the American people, and they can do it again.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, this is the thing. Let's say, in the 3 years, Trump is properly removed from office. There's elections. The Dems win. They come in and they start sweeping reforms to fix this stuff. It's going to be quite a few years of stable.
It also assumes that the Dems will be in power for more than 8 years.
Yeah.
Because if we keep alternating back and forth between Democrat, Republican, which is kind of what we've been doing, you don't have a vision that's moving you in the same direction.
That's
it's constantly diverting, off course.
And it's obvious that in American politics, the ability to compromise to get something done and so on is so broken that who in the world stage is going to just put their arms around America after Trump and say, it's okay, we forgive. It's going to take a long time before people see it as stable again. Yes.
Yeah. It's true.
Horrible. There was a comment here. Did somebody see that Italy confiscated the ship with the ferric metals? And then it goes, Germany didn't let the other ship enter the Baltic Sea. Hard to deter Murmansk.
Murmansk.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There's a couple of typos in the comment I'm trying to get through.
Murmansk is a port up kind of near the border of Norway and Russia, up in the very.
It's all the way around the Scandinavian peninsula in the White Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany is doing some good things now. They actually they blocked. I don't know if it's the same, but a Russian-linked tanker named Arukuzat from entering Baltic waters. And this was actually Europe's first direct interdiction of a shadow fleet vessel. And
I think this is one of the only beneficial fallouts of Trump seizing all those shadow fleet tankers off Venezuela.
Do you think that kind of gave Europe the permission, essentially, somehow?
Effectively, it did. It was like, okay, well, if you're going to do it, we can do it too.
And actually, this week, the United States got its sixth ship that's tied to Russia, and Russia moving this oil. So yeah, sixth.
How many more can they have left?
They have about between 500 and 1,000.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
Yeah.
So
taking down a half dozen tankers really doesn't have an impact.
Dear God, you need Iron Man to go out there and start taking them out, man. That's crazy, you know?
That was actually my question. Like, how many more tankers need to be seized or destroyed to really put a dent in Russia's entire oil export pipeline so it collapses and the Kremlin no longer
the main
fund?
thing is it makes their alternative insurance systems more expensive.
Yep.
Because it's increasing that risk. So they're already having to use, all sorts of alternative workarounds to cover potential losses, and this makes that more of a challenge.
A lot of people don't understand that to operate in an international sphere as an oil or a bulk cargo carrier, what have you, you must have insurance. They won't let you dock in a port without it. So what happens is, as you're getting lower and lower quality ships and crews, which is what they're doing with this shadow fleet. Most of these are ships that were decommissioned years ago, and they bought them very cheap on the secondary, tertiary markets. And then they crew them with whatever inexperienced, low training level personnel to operate them. So insurance premiums on those with normal shipping would be sky high. So what they do is they insure the ship with some fly-by-night little insurance company out of Liberia or Panama or the Cayman Islands or whatever.
Yep. That probably couldn't cover a single ship, much less. They're
phony shell company kind of arrangements.
Yeah.
It's sufficient to allow them to do business until government starts saying, no, we're not going to accept Panamanian or Liberian or Cayman Island insurance as valid in this country anymore.
Right.
But that's a huge step, because there are legitimate carriers that also insure with those corporations.
Right.
Simply because it's cheaper than having to insure with, say, Lloyd's of London, which is the premier, super expensive version.
Well, now, if we look at the bigger picture, now that we have Ukraine getting the tankers in the Black Sea, Germany is getting the tankers in the Baltic, and United States is getting those ships in the Mediterranean. Sorry, not Mediterranean, Caribbean, and I mean that kind of covers blocking the Russian routes for these tankers.
But it's problematic because you still have to identify who these ships are when they're operating. And you have to have some sort of valid reason to board and search and potentially seize them. You can't just willy-nilly say, oh, look, there's a ship. Let's go stop it and check it out.
Right.
These ships, they change names. Like, I think they can change the names, the title of the ship in 24 hours, as you said, Commander, through this. Like,
yeah, I mean, the first one they seized had done just that. It was literally, once they figured out that it was likely to be boarded, they, within a space of less than 12 hours, changed the ship's port of registry from wherever it had been to Russia.
Yeah.
Hoping that, oh, we're Russian, you wouldn't dare seize us because we have this huge, powerful navy.
It's on the bottom of the sea, but
Well, yeah, that's a technicality.
Yeah.
When United States got Maduro, apparently they got a hold of these like routes of the plans and stuff, how these ships travel. So I guess that was one pro thing that's
Cool.
good, and got some of that intelligence information. That's why they started seizing the ships. I mean, almost right after Maduro's capture.
Interesting. That's a lot like
Grunge Thing posed an interesting question. Does anybody know the top 6 shipping companies in the world? Spoiler, they're not American. The top American-owned shipping company is like down in the low or high-numbered 50s range. We are so out of international carrying that it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. It's
I
crazy.
wouldn't have thought that.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just because of when you register a ship for a country, that country will have a certain set of regulations. So the U.S. probably has among the most stringent safety requirements, training requirements on the ship. An American flag ship is required, you'll love this one, to offer steak to the crews at every meal.
What?
Wow.
Yep. An American flag ship must do so because that's something that was written into law at some point.
What?
Just think about the cost of serving steak to all the crew every meal if they want it.
What?
As opposed to, let's register this ship in, I don't know, Liberia, where we can feed them, beans and rice the entire voyage and nobody's going to complain because there is no union to protect the rights.
I have to find out when was this law passed. I've got this is hilarious to me.
Back in the 50s, I believe.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Oh, and just to make clear, somebody said, what about vegetarians? It isn't you only get steak at every meal. It's that it must be an option.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds great, though.
Yeah, and let's be honest. How do you think that got put into U.S. maritime law? Probably from companies putting up money to say, well, we're Armor Meats. We'd like to make sure that our product is sold.
Hilarious.
It had nothing to do with wanting to make the unions happy by saying, yeah, you get steak. No. It's all about
somebody made money off this, right?
Yeah, making money for the bigwigs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way America works, dude.
Yeah. Totally. Oh man. Wow.
Laws, the White Act of 1898. I'm still researching, but yeah, this is a thing. I didn't know.
Oh, I was like 2/3 of the way through my career before I started having to look into things like, associated non-military shipping, logistics and such. And some of the regulations, you go, how the hell did that get written into law?
Yeah.
No, that kind of reminds me. There's actually a bunch of laws that like states and different cities have that are really, really strange. Like I forget specifically, but there's something like you can't cross the street eating ice cream.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. There's some you can look it up and that it'll be like the strangest laws that will come up.
God, there was one where you cannot have a dog wearing a tutu in the front seat of your car.
Well, that's obvious. Yeah, that's true, actually.
You just go, how did that end up there? So they obviously had problems. Was at some point some guy driving around with his dog in the front seat wearing a tutu. So we're going to ban that.
Wow. Wow. I'm scared to think that any deeper than I already have.
Yeah, and there's some wild, crazy ones, and that's specifically United States has, and also most of the
Britain
crazy
has laws
ones.
that go back to, the Dark Ages. They're
Yeah.
still officially on the books that are just ridiculous.
But something to note: the red states tend to have the weirdest laws.
By far.
Yeah.
Red
James,
states tend to be authoritarian, and authoritarians don't like changing anything.
Yes, you were going to ask?
yeah, so there is a news that came out, which was that the first confirmed case of a Russian BM-35 controlled via Starlink. It was the first confirmed case of a BM-35 UAV being controlled via Starlink, and previously Starlink, had only been observed on Molnya UAVs. And when Molnyas, when Shahed drones start using Starlink, so it would only be a matter of time, possibly even days, not months, that Shaheds will be using Starlink as well.
Yeah.
How serious of a problem is this?
Well, yeah, it's a big problem. But the flip side of that is we can do the same thing potentially. Now, here's one problem with using a Starlink, right? So if you're putting it on a Shahed, and that Shahed is using the Starlink as its primary system of communication, what happens when it needs to take evasive maneuvers, right? It can't aim. The satellites are up here, right? So if it has to flip around, now all of a sudden it loses that communication. So now that means it needs to have backup systems,
right?
That's definitely a thing. Okay. But ultimately the issue is going to be the solution. I think I've talked about this before about a lot of these Shaheds in particular are using Ukraine's own
like Sims and
cellular
stuff.
phone, cellular phone network. And so why would they be switching over to Starlink? Well, I would like to say it's because the phone companies are starting to figure out how to block those IMEI numbers and block those data streams as fast as the Shaheds can come in. And that's the only reason that they would want to be needing to be using that. But there again, every time you add another communication system, you're adding to the cost. This is such a war of attrition, a war of resources. That
James, what's the danger of Starlink being put in by Russia doing this into UAVs? What's
well, just that it's incredibly difficult to block them. Okay, so in other words, like with the cellular, I might, if we get an attack here, not just the cellular but internet data traffic, I might experience an interruption, and that's pretty normal. But the Starlink runs on a completely different network. Ultimately, the cellular network is going to run on the land-based internet, and it's all connected to that land-based internet. And so service providers can attempt to disrupt that internet connectivity, and it affects me and it affects the other users, but it also affects the Shaheds, okay? And other systems that use that. Whereas the Starlink is a completely separate network. It goes straight up to the satellites up above and then over to wherever, right? So that's more difficult to block. However, as we saw in Iran using Russian technology, that Starlink communication can be blocked. And I know that Ukraine has that ability as well. It's just a question of where and when do we apply that ability?
Yeah.
So it's about having more tools in your toolbox, and when and where do you use those tools, right? So if you're going to have Starlink, it's probably not going to be the only communication system because of the reasons I explained earlier. You're going to use it as a backup to your backup, essentially. And we do the same thing, frankly, or we are in the process. Yeah.
Worrisome of thinking that Russia would have this kind of control, and because wouldn't it have like really high precision rates of doing this?
Well, by all rights, what ought to be happening is that Starlink, the company, ought to be able to, and certainly can, actively block those. They can trace where data is coming from and where it's going to. When there's a Starlink system that's crossing the border from Russia into Ukraine, they can watch it the whole time.
Yep.
In the same way that we can. Okay, and there's no excuse for them not to be blocking those systems and catching those MAC addresses across the network and blocking them immediately as soon as they cross the border into Ukraine. The fact that that's not happening it is a massive and shameful problem.
Also, hard not to remember how Starlink connectivity for Ukrainians was reportedly restricted during the counteroffensive in the Don region and striking a Black Sea ship that was reportedly Elon Musk turned off Starlink for Ukrainians.
Yeah.
So,
well, it comes down to money, though, and that's ultimately what Elon Musk and what the people at Starlink really care about. So if somebody pays them enough money to do it, they'll do it. And somebody, it was the American government, essentially, along with other countries, Poland and what have you, that basically set up, defense contracts for separate contracts for Starlink that they can't get out of to help Ukraine. And as long as those are in place, we're gonna be okay. But those, my great fear is that could be removed at any time.
Wouldn't it mean that if Russia puts Starlink into Shaheds, that means that's for on using it on civilians, which is a war crime? It wouldn't be be a military target, but if Russia puts Starlink, that means Starlink is partly responsible for the genocide of Ukrainians, causing war crimes.
Agreed.
Complicit. Yes, exactly.
All for a few dollars and a little iron-fisted regime, just like that piece of trash likes.
Yeah. Then there's no defense that Starlink can use to say, "Oh, we couldn't stop it happening" or something like that. That's rudimentary. Your basic level network technician would be able to. I mean, I'm right into tech. I've done some tech support in my life, not telephone, but actually on site, tech support stuff. And I'm no network engineer, but I know right away that they could not instantly, but easily sit down and go, okay, yep, there, shut that one off, blah, blah. And so no problem at all. It's garbage. Near enough to real time. Really.
Exactly. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a long history of corporations based in one country still doing business with a country that their own country is at war at.
Yeah.
I mean, like 30% of the trucks in the German army in World War II were manufactured by General Motors.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing, I don't know if you brought it up already, Slavi, the announcement this past week that Ukraine has been making all of its own vehicles since. Did you see that? Yeah.
Oh, I have not, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have the article right in front of me, but basically since like 2023, as far as like military transport and troop carrier frontline, logistics vehicles, Ukraine's been exceeding its need in terms of manufacturing, which is astounding, frankly, astounding to me. And it's great actually, and I see a future where Ukraine's manufacturing industry for these large rigs could be adapted to other technologies, let's say, because if you can
we got a question for you, James.
Oh yeah.
Can you do any talk on the Starlink alternative that has been discussed here previously about being worked on and stuff?
Of course.
That was Sarah World C. Thanks for the question. Good one.
Yeah. So this is a project that I was involved with starting early last year and through like the first 6 months of last year. And so I helped my previous battalion roll that out. And now, I can't go.
Uh-oh. Oh, you're back now. Okay. Yeah. You're just kind of fading back into our world again here. Yeah. He got caught in a wormhole, but we're good. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have your audio yet. There, I bet now we do, because I got your picture back again. Here we go.
It's funny we should mention about those internet disruptions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the timing there wasn't
Yeah, I might have another one. I'll try to we'll see. But yeah, so basically a lot of units now are rolling out these sort of alternative systems. There are multiple. It's an array of solutions essentially, and so they're becoming more and more common. The technology is advancing. I can't go into the details of what they are, but I will say that with my new battalion in our new AO, circumstances are a little bit different. So please remember, I'm in Azov, the Azov International Battalion, and if you would like to help our battalion, you can go to my webpage, which is whyukraine.com, and you can donate directly to Azov there. You can also go to the Azov International Battalion website, which it's also linked on my page, Azov Int. And we're Azov is more mobile, right? So we go around putting out fires wherever the fighting is thickest. And so the solutions that I'm working on for Starlink replacement are more mobile as well. At the same time, actually, we're in some just like you were talking about, Slavy, earlier about these Russian drones that are integrating like Starlink Mini, mobile Starlink systems. In some cases, we're adding Starlink back. Yeah. So it's a mix.
Yeah.
It depends on the place where we need it. But my primary goal is to make it so we're not we don't, like, if Starlink dies, so we have a backup system physically on the drones, but also to our blindages or what have you, because like we just saw in Iran, Starlink can get blocked and has been blocked here in Ukraine on the battlefield. So it's not a foolproof thing at all.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the drones are basically controlled for their whole flight? They're not remote?
What do you mean?
The reason I'm asking is, for example, most U.S. missiles are directed by GPS.
Oh yeah, that's really almost not an option at all.
And I understand that, because you've got to get U.S. permission and the encryption algorithm.
Well, no, that's M code. M code, and that's there's military GPS. That's one thing. But but there's so much GPS spoofing and just base level EW interference, not just on the battlefield, but all over Ukraine. I mean, I drove across Ukraine, twice this week, and thank God I knew the route because I remember the first few times I went, I got lost like every time, ended up out in the boonies somewhere. It's so there's so much across Ukrainian territory and of course along the front lines with Russia. GPS is just no longer an option, unfortunately, for direct. And the US encryption systems and whatnot, they're great, and they operate on different frequencies or a combination of frequencies that GPS does not. But if you have a broad spectrum electronic warfare system, it's going to screw with everything no matter what. It's still going to be a challenge. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Very much.
Yep. Should we? Oh, go ahead, James.
Yeah. I mean, since I don't know what your next subject was, Slavi, but have we talked about Pokrovsk or some of the frontline things, Konstantinivka, these little Huliopoli, those changes?
No, but please do go ahead. I think it's much better if you do the military update. This is great.
Well, I mean, I actually try to avoid it because in general, it's so easy for me to talk about things in a way that gives away OPSEC. But I just want to talk in a conceptual manner about the concept of perfidy. Yeah. And Commander, I think you know this term quite well. It's a war crime. Russia has used it ever since the very beginning in 2014.
Yeah.
Okay. Has never shied away from it. But now it's really become a real tactic that they are using much more actively in Pokrovsk and in reportedly in other areas. So what that means, perfidy, for those of you who might be unaware, is it's basically not wearing your uniform when you are participating in active military action as an invading force. It's one thing if you're working behind the lines, it doesn't really apply. But if you are actually on the front lines, trying to kill other soldiers, you need to be wearing your uniform. And there's a reason that it's international law, the Geneva Convention, I think it is, exists. And it's because if you start to rely on that, then the enemy can't tell the difference between your soldiers and your civilians. And then everybody, everything's on the table at that point. So Russia's taking a real risk in doing this because here's the thing. When we start taking back that land and when we necessarily have to start going back into Russia, okay, how are we going to tell how are the soldiers on the ground or the guys sitting in Kyiv controlling the ground drones that are going to be doing the invading?
Right.
Okay. The reconquista, as it were, of Ukrainian territory. How are they going to tell the difference between who's a Russian soldier and who's a civilian? Who's a Russian civilian? They're risking the lives of their own civilian population by doing this. And it also, I think, betrays how, Russia has been degraded so much that they are essentially become a guerrilla force, because guerrilla warfare relies, frankly, on perfidy to a certain degree. Being able to slip out of your uniform and blend into the population is essentially a guerrilla tactic. That shows how far they have been degraded. Think about the fact that Ukraine started out this war as borderline guerrilla warfare, and now we've all got fancy schmancy multicam, and yet Russia is going the opposite direction. I don't know, just something to point out.
Yeah, that was great. Very interesting. Thank you. Well, since now we're on the military update stuff, there was localized Ukrainian advances in the southern front in Zaporozhye and Donetsk sectors. These gains are measured in hundreds of meters, not kilometers, but they sit on on a near critical logistics corridors that feed Russian grouping towards Tokmak and Melitopol. Ukrainian assault groups are increasingly using small mobile infantry units supported by FPV drones and precision artillery. Commanders on the ground report that Russian units in the sector are often understrength and poorly coordinated, and Ukrainian intelligence intercepts and prisoner interrogations indicate that some Russian soldiers were sent to the front with minimal body armor, outdated rifles, that's if they even get rifles, and limited artillery support, confirming visible manpower and equipment shortages. Satellite imagery and open source analysis show Russia constructing new defensive lines deeper in occupied territory, including additional trenches, anti tank ditches, and fortified firing points. And military analysts say that these small advances, combined with constant pressure on logistics, are part of a deliberate attrition strategy, forcing Russia to burn manpower and ammunition just to hold ground, while Ukraine preserves combat ready units for future larger operations. I'm all in, Commander. What do you think of this strategy?
No, I think that's a viable strategy. I think we've gotten to the point, particularly in the winter, where mechanized operations really aren't a good option. And we're seeing things going back to, this is going to sound really bizarre to say it, but going back to the same infiltration tactics that revolutionized warfare in World War I, towards the end of the war, when the Germans were using their Stoßtruppen groups. And the whole idea was, rather than, taking entire divisions, lining up in the trench and going over the top where 90% of them became casualties, it was to send small groups through no man's land and infiltrate into the enemy's lines, and that's how you gained ground. And it was very, very successful, and I think that we're kind of doing that here. I was listening to another webcast, and they were talking about the fact that anytime people at the front are in groups of more than 2 to 3 people, you're almost automatically attracting a drone attack. So you're basically forced into a point where fire teams are just 2 or 3 men who are doing that kind of infiltration operation at the front, because it's the only way to operate. If you get a larger concentration, it's immediately a target for drones, for artillery strikes, what have you. I defer to James if he thinks I've misstated that. But.
Oh, James has disappeared.
Oh, yeah, he just
my comments infuriated him, and he left in a huff.
Chased him away. It's a connection issue because he's gone from the whole. He just dropped there, so we'll just have to. Yeah,
I do have something very interesting that's kind of a great segue, because multiple prominent Russian mill bloggers and war correspondents, usually the ones that are loyal to the Kremlin, have begun openly criticizing the Ministry of Defense for failed offensives, high casualty rates, which is from 26,000 to 30,000 a month. That's insane.
Yeah.
And poor logistics as well, and signaling growing fractures inside the pro-war camp. These channels report escalating tensions between the Ministry of Defense, and regular army commanders and various volunteer primate formations. There was a leaked internal document circulating in Russian Telegram channels suggesting that the Kremlin is considering another purge of senior officers, including frontline commanders blamed for losing territory and for failing to achieve unrealistic offensive goals. Also, analysts believe that this internal instability is now directly affecting battlefield decision making. No duh. And Ukrainian intelligence reports that in several sectors, Russian units are receiving conflicting or delayed orders, leading to poorly coordinated assaults and slower reaction times to Ukrainian maneuvers. So, this infighting is also visible in public messaging. Some mill bloggers accuse the Ministry of Defense of lying about casualty figures and territorial losses. And the result is a Russian command system that is more focused on internal blame games and career survival, basically. Uh, Commander Macmillan, or see, James is back with us. With these kind of cracks showing in the military, um, for how long is this sustainable for Russia to keep it going like this without fixing its internal problems?
Commander?
Again, I defer to James because he has much more immediate contact with what goes on at the front. But from what I have seen with what I read about, it looks like the Russian military is going increasingly into a state of chaos. In many ways, they're more of an armed mob than an army in some places because, there's no officer around to direct them. The officers are all hiding in bunkers several kilometers to the rear. So you have enlisted guys all kind of milling about, getting orders from remote radio that may or may not really have a lot to do with what's actually going on at the front, that kind of thing. Does that signify they're on the verge of collapse? Not necessarily, but with all the stresses we're seeing with the logistical system, on the home front, everything else, it's certainly having an impact on their readiness, I think is the best way I'd put it.
Question here for you, James. Do you have power issues? Are you running on battery packs, or is it just the internet itself? Or
so here, what's happening here is it's not power issues right now. At least it's internet. It's part of the air defense system.
Yeah.
To prevent.
But you guys hear him?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear him.
Yeah.
You can't.
Oh, if you can't, Slavy, if you can't hear James, his dropping in and out has just screwed up your connection. So just give a quick refresh and rejoin.
Sorry.
Let it.
My internet is screwing up other people's internet.
No, it's not that. Let it reload last session though, Slavy, when you do it. It's because this has no server in between. This is peer-to-peer video chat. So things happen every once in a while when somebody's got a bad connection. That's all.
I'm so
Do
sorry.
I leave and come back?
Yeah, just refresh the video page.
We miss you already. I'm actually terribly so. No, I actually had to switch VPNs because I was getting too high of a ping.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Commander's rejoining too here. So
I have
agreeing with everyone.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll wait for Slavy here because there was another question for everybody as well. So
going back to what Commander Macmillan was saying.
Yeah.
It's I've been hearing, Russia's falling apart. Russia's in chaos. I mean, yes, but that is just their natural state, ongoing. And they have to be utterly, I'm actually sad Slavy can't hear this part. They have to be utterly crushed down to the ground, down to the finest particles, okay, in terms of their country. or they will, like a cancer, they will remetastasize and keep coming back.
You need something on the level of a World War One collapse at the front.
Correct.
And
correct. That's
we're not there. I would argue we're not really even close to being there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a year or two, to be honest. Yeah. Welcome back, Slavi. I'm terribly sorry to have caused you those problems.
It happens. Can you guys hear me?
Hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Lovely.
James, I had a question for you. Maybe I missed it. You already answered it, but is Ukraine kind of exploiting this moment that Russia is struggling with its military and with its commanders on the front line? Because I feel like it's a great moment. That
yeah, that's the. I mean, it would be nice if Ukraine could, but I think that when you were gone, we were talking about what Commander McMillan was saying, that Russia has to be ground down a lot more, and Ukraine has to be built up a lot more.
Yeah.
Before that can happen. I'm doing my damnedest to try and make that happen, to try and give Ukraine the capacity and the capability, and also, some changes in tactics, some changes in organization within the Ukrainian military need to happen before Ukraine will be able to utilize those theoretical, hypothetical resources, even if they did exist. And this is one reason why I'm very excited about Budnov and Fedorov coming on the scene, taking the helm, essentially. And I really think we're going to start to see that change will come more quickly.
It just seems like it's not that sustainable to keep losing almost 30,000 people a month. I believe
so.
It's now Russia has lost the amount of people it lost, the same as the entirety of Afghanistan.
Yeah. But consider how many did Russia lose, or the Soviet Union lose, during World War II? Okay.
That wasn't Russia, though. That actually Ukraine lost.
Mostly Ukrainians,
a lot more
like
fighting. So
I
hate hearing how many people did Russia lose. No, it was the Soviet Union.
Absolutely. So. And the thing is now are they spending Russian lives? No, they're mostly spending all of the other ethnic people's lives.
Right.
And what has to happen, unfortunately, is Russia's going to grind down all of those other ethnicities and prison nations, and it'll come down to the two cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg and their environs, and they'll when they have to start recruiting from those areas, from truly Russian areas, that is when they will
and
face the consequences.
Recruiting not from Dregs's society level either. So there are ethnic Russians at the front, but it's mostly people they've culled out of criminal elements, so to speak.
Yeah. But Slavia, I'm actually really glad you brought that up about World War II and how Russia likes to play the victim and talk about how, we lost the most people in World War II. And, actually the majority of those people were Ukrainians. And
it was the Soviet Union. It wasn't Ukrainian was the majority, a lot of Ukrainians, but it was other countries that fought. It wasn't Russia, but it was.
Well, the other thing I bring up is how many Ukrainian Jews were lost as well in that war.
The biggest number of Jews that was killed was in Ukraine and Babin Yar.
Yeah. Babin Yar, and I just when I travel around,
even excluding the ones that are being taken out as part of the final solution, it's also they made kind of an effort to recruit lots of Jews into the ranks of the Red Army. as your expendable bodies. Go die for Stalin.
Right.
Yep. And
speaking of expandable bodies, Russia is now basically human trafficking people. They're getting people like guys from like Africa, at different African countries, from Europe. They're promising, you can come to Russia, you can make lots of money doing security, working in a grocery store, whatever. So they promise the big pay, and then these guys, they come and Russia puts a gun to their head and basically kidnaps them and sends them to the front.
Yeah.
I mean, there's numerous of interviews of
famous case of the guy who from the U.S. migrated with his family to Russia because he didn't want to be in a country with all these mongrel races and everything.
Yeah.
And he gets there, and like within a month of arriving, he's forcibly conscripted into the Russian army and sent to the front.
Yeah.
With no training.
Yeah. Well, there's tons and tons of Russian propaganda, particularly in Africa.
Yeah.
But the truth will out, and the families of those conscripted people, we really need a massive counter propaganda campaign in those countries. But nobody seems willing or able to do that right now. So we have to rely upon, the families and the people affected by the deaths of those African and, other country soldiers to step forward and say, hey, this is actually happening and Russia's full of lies. That will come out, and Russia won't be able to recruit. And that happened in Syria, because that's one of the big places where they tried to start recruiting in the first place. And it was going to be this big thing. The Syrians are coming, and it didn't happen. Like something like 150 Syrians or something ended up being recruited, and it didn't work out. So I think that this recruiting Africans and things, I think it's a short-term solution that they're not gonna find very successful.
Well, now there's Ukrainian intelligence reports that there's multiple Russian regions are now unable to meet basic budget obligations, including salaries for public workers, utility payments, and regional infrastructure maintenance. I mean, they can't even pay their own people, yet they're promising these guys in Africa and other countries that they're going to make lots of money. They can't even pay their own people for this job. But the regions facing this worst collapse are those heavily dependent on federal subsidies, especially in the North Caucasus and Far East. Also, several war-dependent regions, including those hosting military factories and mobilization centers and logistics hubs, are reporting severe shortfalls because federal funding has been redirected to frontline needs. And local administrations as well in these regions have begun delaying payments to teachers and doctors and municipal workers, creating growing public anger. And analysts say that the crisis is being driven by three converging pressures. Sanctions, which have cut off Russia from Western markets and technology, the war costs, which are consuming an estimated 40 to 45% of Russia's federal budget, and declining oil revenue, worsened by U.S. tanker seizures, the EU price caps, and China reducing energy import. That's a story we haven't talked about much because China is, let's put it this way, China is now invading Russia quietly without actually doing the invasion.
Playing the cash game.
Yeah. Sorry, let me just get to it since we're doing like such big jumps.
Yeah. Oh, there was okay. Oh, yeah. There was a good question here I have to go back to in a minute too. Well,
talking Slavi, you're talking about the, going going back to this issue of Russia scrounging to find people to send into its meat grinder. Much has been made of the Central and South Americans who are fighting here in Ukraine, and I met some of them when I was in the Legion, in training there, and we really liked the first batch, arguably, back in 23, and they were all just really good guys, just trying to feed their family, and well trained, and taught me a lot. But the thing is that, like, those guys could make more money. There's much made of them being here for the money, but they could go make more money if they fought for Russia, right? Like, a lot more. Why aren't they doing it?
Assuming the Russians actually pay them, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah. So it's because they have a little more access to the truth, essentially, than maybe people in, like, South Africa do. Some people in South Africa do.
Yeah.
Or other countries that Russia has targeted with propaganda. But it's not just that. It's that they believe in the cause of Ukraine. They believe, they look at Ukraine's history, and they look at Ukraine's current fight, and they see their own history of colonialism and their own fight for democracy, and they can see why that's important and tie themselves into that. So it's not just about the money for them. And Russia will find that around the world, people in the majority feel the same way.
Yeah.
Well, now Russia is being colonized by its only financial lifeline, which is China. This is very interesting. So there was a Chinese TikTok video calling for China to invade and seize Siberia, Sakhalin, and the Lake Baikal region. It went viral mid-January, gaining millions of views across TikTok and X. The video argues that Russia's inevitable defeat in Ukraine will create a power vacuum that China should exploit to reclaim what nationalist groups call historical territories. This clip, it frames Russia as a declining power, unable to defend its Far East regions, portraying the moment as a once-in-a-century opportunity for Chinese expansion. The video has ignited nationalist discussions inside China, with online commentators openly debating whether Beijing should prepare to assert territorial claims if Russia collapses further. So the vitality of this video highlights a growing sense of opportunism in Chinese online discourse. While the Chinese government has not endorsed this message, the scale of engagement shows how quickly public sentiment can shift when major power appears weak. For Russia, the video is a nightmare scenario because it exposes the fragility of this eastern borders at a time when military is tied down in Ukraine and its economy is under severe strain. Also, I want to mention that actually in Chinese schools, they're learning that, about that every nation took Chinese territory during the century of humiliation, but then returned it, like France, England, Germany, Portugal, and Japan, and US. So that debt was paid, except Russia. So over 1 million kilometers, still Russia holds it. But now these Chinese school children in school are learning this, and they see these maps, and they see that debt never expires. And yeah, and now China is collecting not through war, but through patience, I would say. So 90% of this kind of foreign investment in Russia's Far East is Chinese, in such like timber and mining and agriculture. and all Chinese controlled, by the way. And the land doesn't need to change flags if China controls everything on it. And I also want to say that China quietly changed those places in Russia to their own names. And they didn't say anything. They did it quietly. So
wouldn't it be something if after all this hype about Taiwan, if China flipped and said, "Yoink, we're taking back Manchuria," essentially.
You need to understand something. If the Chinese media are talking about this, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's not the people talking about it. It's because the state wants that message out.
Wants to sell it.
And the Russians know that that's happening. So in a way, it's both a threat and warning to the Russians that you need to get your act together or we may be inclined to do something.
Well,
you're right,
I mean,
Commander McMillan. This is coming, from China, CCP, where everything is controlled. So this message is out because they wanted it out. They want these conversations to be happening within the Chinese citizens.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important that the U.S. Obviously not to take away from Ukraine in any way, but that the U.S. Really start to prepare in a concrete way for war in Taiwan and to prepare to defend Taiwan and the whole island chain. You know, the revising their littoral combat, preparing the logistics systems, which are arguably in disrepair. The shipping and systems, all of that stuff. Because my experience with Chinese people in general, and I think the Chinese government, when the time comes for them to make a decision, they'll do a quick cost calculation and say, we have two ways we could go: Taiwan or Manchuria. What's going to cost us more? And they're not going to be ideological about it in the same way that Russia is with regards to Ukraine and Novorossiya and all of that. They're just going to say what's going to bring us the most benefit, the fastest in their minds. And if really, and if there's a big wall facing them and a porcupine in Taiwan, they're going to say, hey, you know what? Let's just go north instead. You know, I mean, that's what I would like to think anyway.
Yeah, the other side of that equation that needs to be thought about. Taiwan is like the number 3 or 4 trading partner with China. So attacking Taiwan hurts them economically. It also means you're going to destroy most of the infrastructure that's been developed in Taiwan in order to take the island. Again, that makes it really a poor decision if you're trying to come out economically stronger from it.
Yeah, I mean,
conversely, the Russian Far East has very little development. It's other than resource exploitation, which is a fairly cheap industry to do. So you look at all that and they go, okay, if we attack them and we take all that, even if we destroyed every single mine and every single, timber mill, those are still easy to replace.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense. The biggest concern, I think, is that the Chinese realize that were they to do something like that, it really risks a nuclear response by the Russians. Invading Holy Mother Russia causes that kind of knee-jerk reaction.
Well,
yeah.
I think they will wait until I talked about Russia need to be ground down to the absolute smithereens.
Yeah. If they see Russian free fall, then yeah, I think all bets are off.
That's the moment it'll happen. And I really think that one way or the other, China is going to make a decision on that in the next year or two.
I figure China's got to be eyeing up TSMC, the chip fab in Taiwan. If they got a hold of that, a huge dramatic change instantly happens in the world of tech. Instantly.
Yeah. Well, that's nothing that a few 100 kilograms of C4 can't fix.
Yeah, and that's just exactly it. If China doesn't get TSMC, a huge value proposition of Taiwan is instantly gone.
Yep, and that is one reason why their TSMC is setting up on the U.S. mainland.
Yeah. Big time. A couple of shout outs here. I'm so far behind in them. Sorry, everybody, but I'm total space cadet today. I don't know whose head I'm playing in, but I don't think I'm in this one. So first off, we got Joe Medley coming in, gifting out Shills memberships. Love it, Joe. Thanks so much. 5 new members is an awesome thing indeed. Welcome, everybody. Remember, if you got the last gifted membership of the show, you get today's bar tab. So send us your address, banking information and stuff, and we'll get the bill out to you right away. We've also got a direct PayPal coming in. Lindsay Rogers in the chat. She throws in a 10 direct donation. Can somebody please get James a new coat hanger and some tin foil so we can fix his internet up a little? That was an awesome one. Really cool. I like it. And then if I flip over as well, Joe Medley again drops in a $15 direct Ko-fi donation there. And that's for the Ukraine mission, Britain, Ukraine there in the live chat. We've been doing a little trying to get some funds in for him. There's join our Discord and you can get the story. I'm not going to, but he could use a little hookup very much indeed. So thanks to everybody, because I know a few people have already gone over, found the link and done it for yourselves. Awesome. Love it. Thank you, everybody.
Also, I have a couple of shout outs as well. Thank you so much to SSW Custom giving away 1 Slavi gift membership to one very lucky member. Also, SSW coming in with a super chat saying West Coast, support Ukraine. Thank you, everyone. Yes, thank you so much. And one more super chat from Papa Dutch. You guys know he always has fire super chats. Anyone who believes Donald Trump deserves to lose their house.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your super chats. You guys are awesome. And maybe if we can get that link over to my channel as well, we can pin it and send it out to, or later I can put it in description.
Yeah, good call.
Whatever we're fundraising for right now.
Yeah. Well, we've got James's links for Azov, and we've also got Britt's links right now. So we're doing a twofer here today. A twofer, we call it that in Canada because it's so close to 2-4, which is the big box of beer, of course. So
Yeah, Britt, if you didn't see the message, let's talk tomorrow. He sent me a voicemail, and I've been so running around like a chicken with my head cut off these past 2 weeks. So it's
yeah. What do we got here for time? Okay, we're getting there, but we got about 15 minutes here.
Should we get into the Don Road doctrine and talk about what Trump is doing? It does apply to Ukraine. So
yeah, we have a sound effect for that. Okay, there we go. Now we can start.
That was a great intro for that. Trump unveiled a new Don Road doctrine asserting U.S. dominance and threatening action against Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, Nigeria, and Iran. He canceled further Venezuela operations due to cooperation, but signaled long-term oversight over the country's oil sector. By the way, he instilled Maduro's vice president now, who is in charge, which kind of takes away everything that,
That
now
makes
there wasn't really a regime change there.
Yeah, that's like dipping chocolate in chocolate. You're supposed to dip something else in the chocolate. There's supposed to be a change. There's supposed, stupid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So this week, Trump met with Corina Machado, which is a lot of people voted for her. She's the opposition to Maduro, the rightful opposition. She also won the Peace Prize, which now when they met, she transferred, or she gave it to Trump, and the Nobel Peace Prize Committee was like, you can't do that. This does not mean Trump now gets, that's not how it works.
No. And did you see him gurning? Just look at me. I finally got it,
And to be clear, other people have done similar things with Peace Prizes. They've given the certificates. They've even given the cash award to other people. But it doesn't mean that they now are the holder of the prize.
That's right.
But his beady little pea brain doesn't see it that way. It's like, I now have the piece of paper, even though it has her name on it. I'm the one who won the award.
Yeah.
Now.
How does somebody's brain do that?
It's further evidence that the guy is really, and I hate to use the word in this because it has connotations, but he's retarded in terms of his development. He's still this kid in elementary school who doesn't understand that winning the prize is because you did something important and great, not because you have a certificate.
Yeah.
I actually won the Nobel Prize for humility. Did you know
that?
I won it for bloviation.
It's like he thinks
not many people can say that
because he took Maduro out, captured, kidnapped, really, that now he deserves the prize. Where Machado, she's been opposing him and for 10 years, and because Trump did that line of thinking, I guess for Machado, that he deserves this Peace Prize because he did that. Which, by the way, Trump is not letting her back into government and into her rightful role. By the way, she has a lot of support from the people. But my apologies. I said people voted for her. She wasn't allowed to. She wasn't on the ballot. Maduro made that happen, so she wouldn't be even close. But she does. I'd say she's a legitimate leader right now for Venezuela. But Trump didn't let that happen. He put the vice president, but Maduro's vice president, in charge of the same regime,
which does almost nothing.
It's like spitting on a fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
But,
I like that spitting.
So I think this is a fundamental misunderstanding, though, of how democratic governments work, essentially, right? Because it's remind me very much of the way Putin and his cronies seem to think that just taking out Zelensky is going to suddenly make Ukraine collapse. It wouldn't make a difference.
But give him a martyr.
Exactly.
That mindset of Putin and his crowd, it's the same kind of mindset you get from Trump or the Saudi princes or whatever. To them, the only people that matter, their opinions, are the ones at the top, the oligarchy. And the fact that 99% of the rest of the population of a country doesn't like something, just because the boss likes it, that's all that matters. If the boss likes it, it's good.
Yeah.
So if we remove Maduro and substitute a different oligarch who's more pliable, then obviously the people love the fact that we've done that.
Oh, I think we need this one right now. Just needed a palate cleanser there, you know?
Yeah, also Trump has escalated Greenland demands.
Huge.
Trump has moved from interest to a formal demand that the U.S. acquire Greenland, framing it as essential for Arctic security and great power competition with Russia and China. He publicly declared that the U.S. will get Greenland one way or another, signaling that he sees the island not as an ally's territory, but a strategic asset. Trump
Even
threatened
that. He sees it because he's invested so much time and effort in talking about how great it is that he's going to acquire it as a personal thing. If he doesn't acquire it, it's a defeat for him.
Yeah.
That's why it's become so important.
Well, also, because he only knows about the Mercator projection, he sees it as bigger than Africa.
Huge, big, grandly bigly.
Huge trucks a land.
When in fact, it is a large island, but it's not as big as a lot of people think.
Exactly.
I
just want to know.
It's about the size of Texas.
Yeah.
So now there's a new claim that there's a Golden Dome missile defense narrative. So Trump claims that Greenland is vital for the so-called Golden Dome missile defense system.
Base is there. We could build a base and put his Golden Dome in there.
There are bases there.
You could use those bases.
I think Trump's just got a translation error, and Golden Dome was actually supposed to be Golden Shower, as in what he's going to get from Putin at their next fucking meetup.
Well, I want to know what kind of inception technology the KGB has to just have one or two conversations and then implant this idea and make him think it was his idea. I mean,
yeah.
I've been doing that for years in my corporate career. It's come in handy quite a lot, but it usually takes me about 6 months to make my boss think my idea was his idea. But doing it in one conversation, that's real talent.
Many have noted that the cabinet meetings or anything like that, it's whoever speaks last at the meeting gets their agenda approved, because it's literally the only thing that the pea brain can remember.
Pea brain. How do you spell that?
He's
Is it two E's or an E and an A? It's hard to say.
Yeah. I think he's got the cranial processing power of the original 16K ZX Spectrum. And without the 48K upgrade, he can only remember about, 4 sentences of text at a time.
Like the dinosaurs, huge bodies, brains the size of a walnut.
Yeah.
I think we've got a new dinosaur.
Yeah. Or first last name says in the chat there, he's just like a goldfish. Oh, I've never seen this side of the bowl. I've never seen this side of the bowl. Oh, this is new.
Do you think could we convince somebody to name a dinosaur after Trump? The Trumposaurus Rex or something?
Somebody did name something like a new form of beetle or something, a dung beetle after him.
Oh, no, naturally.
The Cankelsaurus Rex.
Something like that. Or some lower end species.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Well, Europe did respond. They deployed troops, not to go necessarily against the United States, but this was to show Trump that Denmark, along with the EU and NATO, has things in control. Don't worry about this security threat. We're here. So
France, Germany, Denmark, Finland, and one other. I can't remember.
It was France, Germany, Sweden, and Norway.
Sweden, yeah.
And Norway. And
it's token numbers of troops. It's like a platoon or a company. So altogether, it doesn't even amount to a full battalion, probably.
Also, no, it was a couple, like 15 people from one country, and like few French guys
demonstrating resolve.
Yeah. However, there was a U.S. general that was meeting with these troops, Grinkovich, and this guy had trust. So they met, and I have a feeling Grinkovich, can tell Trump, like, what are you doing? We don't need to invade. They have it under control, and if we want to build something, we can. It's the big base, U.S. base, is called Pitufik base.
I want just nobody in the administration that can say that 3 times.
Yeah, if you can't pronounce it properly, either change the name or invade and take another place and take a new base on.
Yeah.
However, I mean,
Fort Jefferson Davis. I can see that now as the new position we put into Greenland.
We also know that Trump wants Greenland for its rare earth minerals. And since now ice is melting, which, by the way, we've completely don't care about ice melting anymore, but it is melting, and we're not stopping anything because it's easier to get to these minerals when the ice is melting. And also these, like Peter Thiel, he invested in this in Greenland, and a bunch of these billionaires were promised this land to build, like Peter Thiel. He wants to build freedom cities, and which the first one would be in Greenland. But yes, he also wants to build these freedom cities in United States. If you guys have a chance, you can read about. They all have like really kooky ideas, but yeah, they just want these like cities, these tech, and they rule over it. So like basically they're God, like that's the government, whichever oligarch
back to the old concept of a company town.
Yeah.
Here
we have
irony of calling it a freedom city.
Well, here we have a AI computer generated Peter Thiel in charge of a freedom city. You can see right here.
Yeah.
Oh, the sound for us was gone, but they heard it anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what it would be, man. It would just be iron fist our way or die, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Savi.
Oh no, I said, and it seems I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Sorry, my fault. We're really coming up on time here, so we should probably get some thanks in and some wrap-up thoughts and stuff. I'll thank the Shills team here right away. We got Shayna, Mexi Girl, Liam Wakefield, Chris Lundy, Carpazian, the AI Alchemist in the chat there, Jose, and Super Chat Matt as well. Big thanks, everybody, because without a good, well-oiled machine of a team, you're screwed trying to do this stuff. Huge thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. James, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I've been gone for 2 weeks, but it's been great things happening. I have the fellowship of the drone, I guess now. I've got 9 engineers in my laboratory now. Ooh. And we've completely built out a whole new portion for the fiber optic drones, and I've had my guys in training, and now we're all ready to get started, and it's because of you. It's because of your viewers who've donated to. Frankly, this past fall, I helped get set up another part of our laboratory for ISR drones, and I was kind of running on the nubs for funding, and our battalion didn't have the funding, and you guys stepped in, went to the whyukraine.com website, and really helped. And without that, we wouldn't be doing any of this, and it really makes a difference. So I just can't thank your viewers enough. Those of you who have contributed, who've shared, who've liked and subscribed, and all those sorts of things. If you feel like you're not having an effect and you can't do enough, you have, and please continue to help. I just want to point out I had to steal this from one of my fellow engineers who's here with me today, so I want to thank him for letting me drink his nonstop.
Awesome.
Because I was so busy. I mean, as you can see, my everything's been moved, and everything's just chaos because we've been so focused on getting this set up. And so it's been a little crazy, but I'll try to be back here next week.
Cool. Awesome.
Commander McMillan, any closing thoughts?
Not really. The usual urging that people communicate with their elected officials. I think it's important. Putting pressure on even the Republicans to continue supporting Ukraine is important, because we're starting to see the cracks forming in the flimsy alliance that constitutes MAGA. And so the more pressure that can be applied, the more likelihood that the administration will have to bow down and actually start doing something.
Well, man, well said.
Dick, do you want to close, or?
Well, we've just posted a stream for 2 hours from now on the Shills channel here. So that's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight in the UK. And I'm sure from there you can do your own math. Check us out. We're calling it a rant and roll pub chat. So we're just going to have a couple of drinks and, sound off about what's going on in the world, because we need some release. Join us.
Absolutely. I hope you guys can join the pub chat. But as we close today, here is what this week made impossible to ignore. Ukraine is holding the line not because the war is manageable and not because the cost is acceptable, but because Ukrainians understand something the rest of the world only seems to learn after a catastrophe. They understand the war does not stay where it begins, that violence does not remain contained by borders, that tyranny, once rewarded, does not pause, it accelerates. If Russia is allowed to succeed in Ukraine, it will not stop there, not because it simply wants more land, but because it will have learned the most dangerous lesson of all, that the world can be broken without consequence. And once that lesson is learned, it spreads. It spreads into other countries, into other conflicts, into our economics, our elections, our institutions, into the idea that power, not law, decides what is allowed and who is expendable. This is why Ukraine matters. Ukraine is fighting not only for its survival, but to prove that this lesson is false, that invasion is not strategy, that terror is not governance, that civilians cannot be frozen, starved, or bombed into submission, and that the future does not belong to those who burn cities to rule them. We know the world is crowded with crises and conflicts right now. We know there are real problems here at home in the United States, problems that deserve attention, honesty, and solutions. But here is the truth Ukrainians have lived with for years. You cannot solve the world's crisis by ignoring the source of so many of them. whether directly or indirectly through war, hybrid war, energy, corruption, disinformation, proxy conflicts, or political chaos, all roads keep leading back to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
When Ukraine is attacked, global stability is attacked. Keeping Ukraine in the news is not a distraction, it is a responsibility. Standing with Ukraine is not charity, it is self defense for the democratic world. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to our panel today. Thank you to everyone who donated to Ukrainian defenders, James, and also to whoever donates to humanitarian relief in Ukraine. You're not watching history, you're changing it. And also, thank you to everyone who supports the channels that we're streaming on through memberships, gifted memberships, super chats, and simply showing up week after week. Thank you so much to the moderators, Broadcast Cat, SSW Custom Sewing, and Salt of the Red Earth. As always, you guys are rock stars. And yeah, if this conversation mattered to you, please share it, like the stream, and subscribe wherever you're watching from. Visibility is power, and silence is exactly what authoritarianism depends on. That being said, be brave like Ukraine. God bless America, and Slava Ukraini.
Herom Slava. See you soon, everybody.